Shut up and sit down. Shut up and sit down.
All right, good afternoon, good evening, somewhere in there, everybody. Welcome to the 360 Sports Show, coming to you live here on a Tuesday night, a rapid-fire edition of the show as we get ready for Boston Bruins hockey. I'm Andrew Pizzelli, he is Christian Lauber. If you are able to catch us live here in this small little window of live broadcast, you can reach us in the comment sections of any of the live streams, Facebook, YouTube, Twitter, and Twitch. Christian, we've got like 2 to 3 big things we want to get to. Let's start with last night. The Boston Celtics, backs against the wall. Game 4, must win in Milwaukee. And I'd say probably a type of, it's a statement win, but I'd say in terms of the Jaylen Brown, Jason Tatum era, what are they going to do eventually? They needed to get a win last night. Because going down 3-1, you probably lose the series. And this could be one of those little turning point moments for them. We've talked about this team, the maturity. I got to say, they're showing championship DNA with what they did last night. Nothing going for you. Refs are obviously not going your way. Your stars aren't shooting well. And here comes Al Horford out of the phone booth to drop 30 points and come back to win. I think if they had just rolled last night, it would have been like, okay, that's nice, but I think the way they won last night against who they did it against speaks volumes about what's different with this team and why if they can get past Milwaukee, they're set up. They're ready to make a real run, I think, this time.
It was a hell of a fourth quarter. The 3 prior, not the best. I didn't think they played all that well at all throughout the first 3 quarters. I think Horford was pretty much good throughout. But I don't think Tatum or Brown did anything astronomical in the first 3 quarters. Tatum came on late, obviously, but it was all Al Horford. He was the catalyst of the whole thing. That dunk on Giannis, I don't want to go too far with it. It didn't they were already kind of moving in the right direction then because of Horford, but it was a big play, and everybody gets a boost from stuff like that, even though it's only 2 points and 1, whatever.
When the mild-mannered guy is screaming his head off, that fires guys up.
Horford, he's 35 years old, and he's going against one of the best players, if not the best, in the game right now, in Giannis. And he goes up and dunks him and then gets a technical, well, whatever. But the play itself was just that type of play gets everybody kind of jumping.
Yeah. I think, obviously the Celtics could have won both in Milwaukee. Could easily have lost both, too. And could have gotten blown out. I think it does speak to the maturity of this team that when things weren't going their way in the first quarters and first halves of both of the games in Milwaukee, they didn't just kind of pack it in and say, well, tonight's not the night. I mean, down early, and they just keep coming and keep coming and keep coming. They played full games. Now, they didn't play well for full games, but they played the whole game. Milwaukee, down the stretch last night, same thing in Game 3. I mean, with no Middleton, I don't know if it's just as simple as that, but Giannis has looked gassed in the fourth quarters of the last 2 games. And part of that is the Celtics, throwing multiple defenders at him and really making him work to score, but also not just letting him hang out on defense, putting, as Ime Udoka says, putting him in the action. That's got to be a factor. Now, I mean, it's a 3-game series. Who do you really feel has any sort of... I mean, do we just say advantage Celtics because they're the ones going home, but they're also the team that... Like, the Bucks have played more good quarters, yet the series is tied. And the Bucks blew 2 leads. It's weird.
Yeah, I mean, I think the Celtics are the better team. And I think, I will say, fans and me and you and whatever else, if you want to bitch about the officials, go ahead. The players on the court, this team gets way too bent out of shape over the refs. And from time to time, it takes them completely out of their rhythm. And that's a problem for me. I mean, I think at home, if the Celtics go home here for 2 out of the next 3 and don't win this series, I feel like that's kind of a fail at this point because you're kind of in the driver's seat. We know what this team is made of. I think they've kind of proven that their defense is absolutely elite. There's a reason it was the best in the league, and I think they get away with a lot of what they do on the court, especially in the offensive end, because of how good their defense has been. But I feel like you have to win this series going home. You should be in the driver's seat here. Big win in Game 4. Obviously, you know the Bucks are going to come out and try to hit you in the mouth in Game 5, right? But 5 and 7 are at home. I feel like you have to win this series. And Game 5, I don't see either the next 2 games as a must-win unless you lose, obviously, because I think you can win in their building. I think that's been proven. Obviously, they won here as well. So it's gonna be interesting, but I just think the Celtics are a better team. I just look at them, especially when the Bucks are without Middleton. It's a lot of Giannis and 4 guys standing around. I mean,
their offense has bogged down really bad. And early on, they were getting other guys going, but then most of the second half was just giving the ball to Giannis, and he's just running at the rim.
We'll say Drew Holiday probably won't shoot 5 of 22 again, so there is that.
No. He hasn't had a great series, so he's kind of due for one of these big games. I do think the Celtics have unlocked a few things offensively. I mean, they found... We'll talk about this, but officiating played a part in this, but there was no rhythm to that game for either side for most of that game until about the fourth quarter, and it felt like the pace kind of picked up, and the Celtics were locking down on defense and then getting out and running and then getting good stuff on offense, and the game was kind of flowing. Yeah. They're going to have the pick and roll stuff with Horford all day because of the way guys like Lopez sag off screens. And then I thought, fourth quarter, late, it's not something Udoka has done a whole lot of. It was more of a Brad Stevens thing. Mm-hmm. But the posting with Marcus Smart, I liked. I mean, those were some critical possessions down the stretch where it's a 6-point game, pushing it back to 8 or 8 back to 10, 7 to 9. And they 3 times went to Marcus Smart in the post against Drew Holiday, who is a good defender. He's not a weakling in there, but Marcus is just, you see, he somewhat holds his ground-ish against a guy like Giannis when Jaylen Brown, who's taller, theoretically should be bigger and stronger, gets blown right by. So I like to joke that Marcus is an NBA power guard. I mean, that's basically what the Celtics asked him to do, like, the first 3 years of his career. Yeah. I think they found something there. It's just a way to get simpler offense, because on nights where the shot from distance isn't falling, logic says get closer to rim, higher likelihood of shot going in.
Sure, yeah, and I mean, he can do the same thing that Drew Holiday does, which is back down in the post and hit a little floater. I mean, he does that very well. Sometimes I think he gets away from it because of, the 3-point shooting in the league now is just ridiculous. But in the fourth quarter yesterday, 16 and 19, 84% from the team. And that was mainly, obviously, well, I don't know. There were stretches where Smart and Brown were playing very well. Then Horford and Tatum, obviously. Tatum kind of took over. That 3 that he hit on the right wing there was just ridiculous over, I think, Grayson Allen, if I'm not mistaken. So they've proven they can win those spots. They just there's some unsustainability in terms of what they're doing offensively. They play mediocre at best for 3 quarters and then shoot 84%. Game 2, But the reason it might be sustainable in those spurts is because the defensive end of the court. They're very good on defense, and that is elite, and that is across the board, no matter what. The Bucks get up 8-10 points, and here comes the defense.
Yeah. Do you think that? I mean, a lot of it has to do with the type of. I mean, in the fourth quarter, guys were going to the rim. I mean, Udoka said, "Will Chamberlain's not out there, guys." Like, yeah, they're big, but like, can we go to the rim? And so you saw a little more of that. I still think overall their strategy here is to just outshoot them because it's just what their defense is giving you. Do you think if the Celtics can get past Milwaukee, like, is this the most difficult matchup only because of you got a guy in Giannis that's so unique and almost unstoppable? I mean, I know Embiid could be waiting for them in the next round if the Celtics get there, if the Sixers even get there. But is there anybody else left in the league, or for any team, is there anybody else in the league that presents a similar challenge that Giannis presents, where it's just like this one guy and what they do can basically change everything you want to do?
No, I mean, there's nobody like him in the game. I mean, and especially the way he's officiated, which will drive you nuts sometimes. I mean, he travels on almost every play, but it's never called for either side. But he's just and don't get me wrong, he's a great player. He's ridiculous, some of the things he can do. He still can't shoot, but he can get anything he wants pretty much all the time in the paint. So no, I don't think, but there's differences, right? So if Middleton's out there, I think there's a huge difference. If you play a team like Miami, there's a big difference because all five guys can guard. They can switch like you. They have 3-point shooting and defense. It's just so there's going to be difficult matchups no matter what way you go. I think the Sixers is an interesting one in Embiid. I think Embiid is pretty much unstoppable as well if he wants to be, but he's also banged up. So, but I mean, there's pretty much nobody like Giannis in the league.
Game 5's tomorrow. Love that. Quick turnaround. Game 6 is Friday. And if necessary, Game 7 on Sunday. So when we take to the air again, this series will be wrapped. Christian, your prediction for what is now a best of 3?
Bucks in 6. No, I'm going to say Bucks in 7 only because I just have not seen the Celtics do it in a series like this. Like they obviously swept the Nets. I think they can, but I want to see it. And until that, I just like the Bucks are still a decent team. I think with Middleton, they're much better. But I think they've been there and they kind of punched their ticket last year, really, to make it think like, okay, they can get there. So I would say Bucks in 7, but I think the Celtics should win the series based on home court.
I'm going to say Celtics in 7. I think it has to go 7 because even if the Celtics win tomorrow night, you're going back to Milwaukee. When they beat Toronto in the bubble, that was kind of a bit of a watershed. It was like, hey, that's a team that played with the hearts of champions, but obviously was not the same team because no Kawhi Leonard. This is now I know no Middleton, but the best player is on the floor for the other team. Mm-hmm. They have been there, done that, won a championship. You're going to need to figure out how to take that. Now, I think they're ready to try. I think they are finally starting to understand how hard it is to really, eliminate these teams and these types of players. I think they're not making any friends out there, which is great to see. So I think they're ready, but it's going to take 7 because the NBA is going to want it to go 7.
Here comes Scott Foster in Game 6 if the Celtics win.
Yeah. So, anywho, I did want to hit very, 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 very briefly on the other series. Did you catch the Warriors and the Grizzlies game last night, Christian?
No, I did not.
So, yeah, right to bed after the Celtics game. So, the Warriors basically played with their food for about 3 3/4 of the game. And the Grizzlies last like 5 possessions, they just kind of like and do nothing. And of course, you have Steph Curry and Klay Thompson, and you hit a three, you get a stop, then you're in a free throw contest with the best free throw shooting team in the league. And so the Grizzlies blow it. So the Warriors are the only team up 3-1. 2-2 with the Heat and the 76ers, and 2-2 with the Mavericks and the Suns. Again, most of these could be wrapped by the time we get to our next show. I think we're going to go ahead and say Warriors will take care of business. So who is waiting in the Eastern Conference and Western Conference Finals for those teams?
I still believe it's Miami and Phoenix.
Yeah, I agree, Miami, for all the reasons you said. Phoenix, I have a tough time with them only because they rely still so much on Chris Paul. Now, he's producing, but I just don't know if that's sustainable. Like we saw Al Horford had a game, wound back the clock. If Al Horford goes out tomorrow and drops 30 points again, I will be stunned. And also, the Celtics shouldn't have to rely on that to win. You'd want guys like Tatum and Brown to have better games. So I'm actually going to pick the Mavericks to find a way to pull out that series. And Warriors-Mavericks, that would be a fun conference final. So, anywho, quickly before we transition here to the NBA, let's roll very quickly with Hot and Not.
It's time for Hot.
You want to talk about hot? Please stop doing that.
Doing what?
Continue. Go ahead.
And Not.
God, is he a moron? Oh my God, he doesn't shut up.
It's so stupid.
Stupid decisions.
Dum-dums. The naughtiest knot of the year.
Oof. Suck fest. Suck sauce.
On the 360 Sports Show.
All right, Hot and Not, up and down, good and bad, plus and minus. Christian, what is hot for you from the past week in sports?
Definitely not Trevor Story. I'll say that. I would say for me, I am taking the easy way out. I'm going. I had two. Colorado Avalanche are just absolutely making people look terrible on the Nashville Predators. Cale Makar is disgusting at hockey. It's ridiculous. If you want to go watch some highlights, recommend it. But I would go Avs and Mr. Al Horford. I mean, not only this past game, the game 3 was brilliant again. So I just think he's been awesome this postseason. I don't know if he's just like, I want a ring this year or what, but he is he looks highly motivated, and he looks like he's like 26 again.
He looks like a guy, and the intensity and the passion you've seen from him in the Brooklyn series, he showed it. I mean, he's shown it some during the regular season, but this playoffs, he's really brought a different edge. It looks like a guy who probably feels this is his best chance to win a ring. Because as great as he's played this year, like the whole year, that's kind of found money. I think we talked about him being the walking, talking TPE. Like, you brought him in here just to get rid of Kemba and fill salary. I wouldn't be shocked to see him moved in the offseason as some part of a package to go get other parts. So I think he probably knows that could happen, and is playing like a guy who's desperate for a ring, and has gas in the tank to burn.
They might
For
have
it.
already been done in this series without him, though.
Oh yeah, no, 100%. Without Al Horford, they would have been cooked in this series. My hot, Christian, are you familiar with the Savannah Bananas? So the Savannah Bananas, basically TikTok's favorite baseball team. This is back on May 8th. Their starting pitcher, Christian Dearman, started off the game with 3 strikeouts in 2 minutes and 5 seconds.
Hey.
This team is just absolutely ridiculous. You know, people talk about, like, can baseball be fun again? Go watch the Savannah Bananas. The stuff they do, they're literally just for entertainment. And why can't baseball be like this normally? So, you know, I'll fast forward to kind of more towards the end. But they're worth the follow on any social media platform. They're worth the follow. Yeah, and they get all the players get the fans involved. And look, even the umps doing like a little like out dance. I wish I could go to a Savannah Bananas game. So I highly recommend checking them out on social media. Their stuff is hysterical. And hey, baseball can be fun. Baseball can be fun. Now, it doesn't have to be absurd, but it can still be, professional, but it can certainly be fun.
It can be a little more pace on it, that's for sure.
Hey, how about that? If a half inning took 2 minutes and 5 seconds?
Yeah, for real.
That'd be great. I think it takes 2 minutes and 5 seconds for one pitch to happen in a Red Sox-Yankee game.
I'd take like 7 minutes, and I'd be okay.
Yeah. Christian, what sits upon the top of your not list?
Yeah, I mean, geez, there's so many. But I'm going NBA MVP. Jokic wins the MVP again, and I just disagree with it. I think Jokic is probably top 3, but I think Joel Embiid was far and away the best player of the year in the league. And I think to rob him of that award for whatever reason, maybe he's a little too much showboating, too much talking, whatever. I just think I don't like it. I think Embiid should have won the MVP easily.
100% agree. Jokic is a great player. They were all great players. But what Joel Embiid did this year was special. Like it wasn't just like, oh, he was like the best player this year. It was special.
There's a reason they were down 0-2, and then he came back in their 2-2 in Miami series.
Yeah. So, definitely right there. When you started saying NBA MVP, I thought you were going to talk about what I'm going to talk about, which is the officiating.
Oh, I could go there too.
It's got to be on my not list. I'm not going to rant for forever. I'm just going to say, and it's kind of what I always say, when bad calls will happen, right? Missed calls will happen. It's part of sports. But what bothers me about officiating, and should bother you, even if you're a Bucks fan last night, now I know you lost, so obviously there's probably things that bother you enough outside of the officiating, it ruins the game. Like, the flow, that game, the NBA product last night, until somewhere in the fourth quarter, that was brutal to watch. A whistle every other play. No flow. And guess what? There's a whistle and a foul. Guy wants to go to the line. Okay, let's get 2 free throws. No, wait. Let's go check. Did his elbow kind of hit him in the face? And then what makes it laughable is you go to review things, like Jaylen Brown going straight up, called for a foul. They want to go look and see if Jaylen Brown committed some sort of hostile act. And then they see Giannis with his fingers like up Jaylen's nostrils and an elbow in the face, and they go say, okay, yeah, it's just a common foul on Brown. That's it. So, like, what do we even... You can look at that and not say, you know what? That's an offensive foul. Or
the worst call of the night was
Drew Holiday jumps in front of Marcus Smart, shuffle it. Still, I know it's like, he was set. Yeah, if you pause it.
Oh, you jumped in front of Jaylen.
When you stop the video, yes, he is set. He was real time. It's not like that. He's a block. As obvious and clear cut as it gets, and they overturn it.
Yeah, which is the weird thing because I thought they had the call right. And that was a big foul because Jaylen got 5 on that.
Yes. Total, and that's what it is. It's the inconsistency, and then when there's actually things that you would want to see corrected, they can't be. And then we go and like the Horford thing. Like, sure, I think he did stick his elbow out, but at the same time, how do you say, okay, the guy who went up for the dunk got fouled, and in doing so, his elbow hits the guy who's fouling him in the head? How are you going to assess a technical there? Like, it's one thing after the fact if Horford, shoved him away. He dunked, came down, and then was flexing. Like, so silly. And no one likes it. No one likes it. I don't know why the NBA sees the need or feels the need to get that like, let's make sure we find every little possible thing we could assess anywhere at any time and totally ruin the flow of the game.
Yeah.
Anyway, rant over. Sorry, that took longer than it should have. But
keep fired up here.
Yeah, bad officiating. It drives me bananas. Let's talk about the Boston Bruins, who are coming up very shortly here in Game 5 in Carolina. The news of the day: Charlie McAvoy is going to play in this game. He was in Boston this morning. The Jacobs, I guess, ponied up to put him on a private jet and get him down there. What's more stunning, that he's playing in the game or that the Jacobs got a private jet to get him there?
The most shocking thing is that he cleared COVID protocol in like 28 hours. So I don't know if he was like the whole situation is kind of strange because they're only testing players if you're symptomatic, and now they're saying he might have been asymptomatic. So I'm confused on that. But hey,
Whatever.
They got a private jet, flew his ass right to Raleigh, and off the jet he went right to the rink. So, I mean, who knows how he's going to be? I know this: if he's in the lineup, I'd much rather have him in the lineup than not. So. Whether he's on 2 hours sleep or pretty tired from all the flights, not that it's that far away, but so get him on the ice, and that is fantastic news for the Bruins. Now, I won't be surprised if they lose 5-1 tonight.
Yeah.
I can't believe this is a series. I'll be honest with you. I thought it was going to be over in 5-6.
Same.
Max.
I thought it was going to be a sweep.
It was not looking good in those 2 games in Raleigh. So here they come again now. It's going to be they're going to have to weather a big storm. The hurricane, huh? They're gonna have to. The first period is gonna be rough. First 10 minutes, they got to kind of get through it. But I think Swayman has kind of picked up some of the slack. I don't think Ullmark was bad, but Swayman has made important saves at the right time that Ullmark didn't make that you kind of needed. So he's righted the ship back there, and I'm just happy you have a series because I thought they might get blown out here 4 games in a row.
Do you think that? Because no matter what, there's going to be a Game 6 now, back in Boston. So Carolina could blow doors tonight. They're going to have to come back to Boston and deal with that environment. And this is what I was like. I was picking the Canes in this series, but my thoughts on them long-term in the playoffs. Are they mentally tough enough to dispatch of the Bruins in this series? A team that has a lot of guys that have been there, done that, and seeing the way and how games 3 and 4 played out, they could win tonight, but it still could go 7. Are they mentally tough enough to win this series? They're better. They are the better team. Do they have it between the ears? Because the end of game 4, some guys were looking like they were coming completely unraveled.
I'll say this. They are the better team. In games 3 and 4, they are not as astronomically better as it looked in games 1 and 2. It's gotten closer, but here in game 5, 6, 7, I don't know if they have what it takes to get there. They've been one of the best teams all year, so I would have to believe I would still pick them in this series just based on that. But man, they've got some guys that like Tony DeAngelo melted down in game 4.
Hucking his stick.
Yeah, and that was at the tail end, but even before that, he's just talking crap to Marchand the entire It's very rare that Marchand gets that far in somebody's head that he's just going nuts over it. And DeAngelo is one of those guys that just kind of loses it. There's a reason he's on a prove-it deal 1 year. He's kind of a head case. So we'll see tonight. I want to see what the Hurricanes do. If they come out and score 2 goals in the first 10 minutes, I won't be surprised. But you get a big lift from McAvoy being back there, and that should help you more than
stunning
Josh Brown and I mean, look, you don't want if your best pairing is getting 25 minutes and it's Carlo and Grzelcyk, you're in for a long night. And I thought they played pretty well the other night,
admirably, instead of McAvoy and others. Also, the biggest thing too. I mean, it comes down to simple things. The goaltending's been better, and the perfection line is just clicking on all cylinders. Games 3 and 4.
Yeah, it'll be interesting tonight, though, because they're going to get back to the Stahl matchup now. Because you're back down in their building, they're going to have the matchups they want. So we'll see if they can get Stahl against Bergeron, which was creating problems in games 1 and 2.
Yeah. So 1 minute left here before we want to switch over and go watch this Bruins game, Christian. Pick the rest of the series. 3-game series, much like the Celtics.
Canes in 7, I want to say. Just based on, again, the home ice. I don't know if Carolina, I would say 6 based on what I've seen, but in Boston, Carolina was a completely different melty team. So in their building, I think they win, but I think it might take 7 now at this point.
I'm going to agree. Canes in 7. They're going to win tonight. and then they're gonna probably get like blown out in Game 6 in Boston because that place is going to be juiced, and then it'll be a Game 7, some sort of epic, nip and tuck type of game. If the Bruins, as my glasses fall, if the Bruins win this series, I will be stunned because after games 1 and 2, it was looking like get out the brooms.
I'm already stunned that we have more than 4 games.
Yeah,
based on the first 2, the Bruins got torched in those first 2 games, absolutely torched,
as we expected.
Yeah. If the Bruins somehow came out of the series at the end of the day, it would be that Charlie Coyle shorthanded goal that was the catalyst for the whole thing. Ever since that goal, it's been a lot closer than the first 2 absolute crap shows that the Bruins had.
Yep. So that series will be actually. Let me double check. Will that series be wrapped by time that game's a Game 7 for that?
It's today, Tuesday, Thursday.
Let's
Saturday,
see.
Probably
Game 7 will be Saturday. So yeah. The Celtics and the Bruins will be wrapped when we take to the air next.
Well, we're not going to have anything to talk about next week.
Yeah, because whom's are in the old bowl locker. And definitely not coming out anytime soon. If you know, you know. So that's going to do it. Oh, we do have at the buzzer here. Quick question. Here late, if you got time, but heard that Tom Brady will become lead analyst for Fox when he hangs up the spikes. Nausea time. I think he's going to be awful. Great players do not often make good broadcasters. Tony Romo, do we say he's great? He was very good. Was good for like 1 year. Yeah. And then, Tom Brady, they're committing $36 million to him. That's a whole lot of money. I think they're trying to make up for like the talent drain that happened there and say, Tom Brady's coming someday. Tom Brady's coming someday. I think Tom now probably plays 5 more years and will literally just milk the rest of his career, knowing that no matter what, he's just got an open-ended deal to go call games.
I just think it's hilarious the fact that he was like retiring like 3 months ago because he wanted to spend time with his family, and now he's locked up for another 10 years with Fox for $375 million. Like, how did you get from point A to point B there? There's no clear path. It's just, I might play for 2 more years. So he's technically got like a 11 to 12 year deal with the NFL.
Yeah.
Just fantastic. The job, I'm not so sure I'm going to be interested in because I think Aikman's pretty good. Tony Romo was pretty good. He's kind of fell off a little bit. Outside of that,
it's hard.
Brady's personality is just different, though.
Yeah, it's hard. I mean, he's not. I feel like he's going to be very awkward live on air. I don't know how that's going to be. So someday we'll see, but not anytime soon. So we'll have more time to break down that and some other NFL things, depending upon how the winter sports fare here in the next week. So that's going to do it for the edition of the show, a rapid fire edition here on a Tuesday. Go watch the Boston Bruins. Go Boston. We'll just say that. Blanket for the week. Go Boston.
There you go.
And we will catch you all next week.